going to look like going forward. We're going through such a weird time right now in terms of, the pandemic happened, instructors were forced into into virtual teaching, and we've all learned a lot. And one of the biggest things that we've heard from you as instructors is trying to come up with new ways to engage students. And especially in a virtual environment, that's really, really tough. What we have as a company have learned is that the importance of student engagement has skyrocketed. And we know that this will continue into the fall, whether you're teaching online, hybrid, or in person. So today we just wanted to outline some of the key resources that our chemistry instructors found the most useful. We only have 10 minutes, and I love to talk. If anyone know me, I love to talk. So we've put all of our content within slides. But please, after our session, please feel free to join the Q&A afterwards, and we can dive deeper and show you it live and answer any questions that you have. Okay, so here we go. So one of the biggest pieces of feedback we've heard from instructors is how do we get students into the content before class? This is an issue now, it's been an issue in the past, I'm sure it will be an issue going forward. Studies have actually shown that if we can get them into the material ahead of time, they're inherently more engaged once they get to you. So once they get to the lecture, they already have a base level understanding of the material, they're naturally going to be more engaged in lecture. So basically we want to warm them up before class. This is where the interactive ebook comes in. So this book is fully accessible through Achieve. Students have access to the full content of the text right at their fingertips. They're going to be actively reading, which is very, very important. All of our ebooks have the ability to have highlights, notes, and have full accessibility options. As an instructor, you even have the ability to create notes with an ebook and push them to your students. As students are reading through the book, they have access to glossary terms, activities, and check-in questions throughout to help them as they move through the content. One of the things that we're always hearing is, I ask my students to read or review the material, but how do we know that it's actually happening? One of the most sought after tools that we have for this specific reason is our adaptive quizzing. This really applies to our promise of reaching students at all levels. Not all students are going to need the same support. So this tool really creates a targeted learning path for each student with the purpose of ensuring that by the end of the activity, all students will have a base level understanding of the content before they come to class. The assignment is directly tied to the ebook, with the premise of encouraging students to go back and reread the material if they don't know the answer. So students have a series of questions, they have hints, they have full access to the ebook right at their fingertips, so they don't immediately know the answer, they can reread the material to find that out. This really promotes that active reading component that I was speaking of and ensures that students are reading, retaining, and understanding the content. Once the student gets through a few questions, this is where the magic happens. The algorithm on the back end actually starts giving them more questions targeted to the topics where they are struggling. So if I'm one student and Katie's another student, we have different levels of understanding of the content. Maybe it's I actually read the material and Katie didn't, but those questions that we're receiving within this assignment are going to be targeted to where I need more help. And so that's the genius of this activity. One of the best parts of this tool is the reporting. So not only will students have a personalized learning experience, but they will then receive a personalized study plan with links to further reading, activities, questions, to further deepen their knowledge and help them prepare for their next assignment or their exam. On the instructor side of things, you have an in-depth view of where your students are excelling and where they need extra help. So you'll be able to see that from a class level, so a high level, to see based on specific topics where you might need to cover more within the lecture, or you can actually dive down into the student level. So if you have students that are coming to see you within office hours, you can reference this activity and you really get a really good understanding of where they might need that extra help and why. Okay, so now your students are warmed up and ready to come to class. Now what? How do we keep them engaged? I'm going to pass it off to Katie.
So yes, I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into how we can engage students inside of the classroom. And so as Jen mentioned, one of the biggest challenges that we've heard from instructors is how do I keep my students engaged? I'm on a virtual lecture and I look out into a sea of blank Zoom screens. So I was just going to show you a few things in a team that we've really been hearing have been resonating with our chemistry instructors across Canada. So the first thing, can you just change the slide, Jen? Yeah, so these interactive simulations, these have been great because they can be used in class, either individually or students can work together in groups during class. They can also be used after class, and we have assessments built around them to really help ensure student understanding. And these simulations were really designed to help students gain that visual understanding and allow them to explore with an inquiry-based type learning. And the great thing is that these simulations are also embedded throughout the ebook. So we're trying to provide that visual and that interactive learning experience, really to try to keep students focused and engaged as they're going through the content. We've also developed some worksheets that can be used with the simulations. And so students can either work in groups, either in class, or even if you're virtually, they can break out into different groups and work on these worksheets together. We've also found some instructors are assigning these after class individually for students, really just to ensure understanding as they're working through those interactives. Next slide, there you go. And so iClicker, I mean, many of you are probably familiar with iClicker. I know that we have a lot of chemistry instructors that have been using iClicker during the pandemic, which is great. So, really whether you're teaching online, if you're teaching hybrid, or if we do get to go back in person this fall, iClickers are a great way for you to be able to check understanding and really give every student a voice and an opportunity to engage with the material. And iClicker is actually part of our Achieve package, and so it does seamlessly integrate into the Achieve gradebook. And then the last thing that I wanted to point out were these instructor activity guides. So a lot of instructors were giving us feedback as we were building out the Achieve platform, and they really wanted more in-class activities. So we have about one per chapter, and these are almost like a recipe card for running an in-class activity. They were designed to make it really easy for you to prepare and also implement any of these activities. And they basically have everything that you would need. They give you the class time, they give you all of the resources, the learning objectives, and just really try to make it simple for you to be able to engage your students in class with some of these activities.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Katie. There you have it, a few of our key resources that have been proven to not only prepare students for class, but also to continue their engagement and ensure success in their course. We have resources for most courses within chemistry and would love to show you more if you're interested. Thank you so much for having us today. We really appreciate it. And please join us in the Q&A after this session to learn more. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks.